The new chair of the Republican Committee for Charlottesville. Erich, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me again, Val.
I wanted to get your response to a lot of things that have been happening in the city. City Council does not have a Republican on it, and so sometimes we don't get the Republican perspective on some of the decisions they're making. Let's start with what has been the big talker, the votes on the Lee statue. What do you think Council should have done in this situation? They had the Blue Ribbon Commission that had some different recommendations for them. What do you think they should have done?
I mean, I think they definitely tried with the commission and their process to try to get the sentiments of the community regarding a issue like this, which definitely had the potential to be very divisive, and I think has sadly ended up being more of a tug of war rather than a opportunity for people to come together and try to have a productive conversation about the Lee statue and its modern implications. I think that's certainly the way they eventually decide on it, despite all the feedback. I mean, I think both from the Blue Ribbon Commission itself, as well as citizen feedback. Citizens in Charlottesville generally were very much against removing the statue, and I think the fact that they still went about with doing it is very disappointing.
So you think the council was ignoring the will of the actual residents in the city?
I think so. I mean, I think that while many people had very different views about why we should keep the statue and how we should keep the statue, I mean, you had some who wanted to keep it, you know, keep it there, others who wanted to keep it there, but like try to add some context to it, modern context, and try to use it as a tool for discussion and understanding and reconciliation.
We looked at some of the data on people who spoke at public meetings and talked to a lot of people involved, and they said it was almost like a 50-50 split of for and against. Is there another option that could have been more satisfactory to Republicans at least?
I mean, I think firstly, definitely keeping it there was the feeling for many Republicans, both in the city and I mean, since this kind of has also, for various reasons, become a statewide issue as well in a way for many conservatives and Republicans across the Commonwealth. And I think definitely Republicans would have been open to finding ways to bring a more modern context to it, to try to use it as a tool to bring people together.
Updating the signage and things like that.
Exactly. I think that would have been things that Republicans would have been open to instead of simply taking away the statue, renaming the park in a very kind of one-sided way without trying to bring people in.
Let me ask you one quick final question. We just have about 30 seconds left. But the decision of council about the budget, they had kind of $10 million come in because of the increased assessments. The mayor had argued that some of that money maybe should go back to the residents, cut the tax rate a little bit. What do Republicans think should have been done with that increased assessment?
I think anytime there is extra money in the budget that is not that when there's not an opportunity to spend on some very necessary things, one should give it back to the taxpayer or try to find some way to relieve the burden on already very strapped taxpayers in the city and the Commonwealth.
Erich, thanks so much for being with us, and we'll talk more as we get closer to Election Day and see where Republicans are at with finding candidates for council, things like that. So Erich, thanks for being with me.
Right. Thank you so much, Val.
For Political Tuesday, I'm Val Thompson, CBS 19 News.
All right, you can watch this week's Political Tuesday as well as everything else we feature at 5 by heading to Newsplex.com and clicking on our Featured at 5 tab.